Alright, so sort of quick video today. Just want to go over a couple, I guess I would call it barriers to entry, as far as, given how straightforward and sort of irrefutable the evidence is for meditation and the results. Why do people not commit to it? Why is this thing not taken off? Well, it is taken off, but why is it not kind of exploding more than it already is? So there's a couple of things there. For one, people are sort of, or many people are so kind of hopelessly dependent on their mind, or they're so lost in the ego and the mind that they can't really even conceive of the possibility of a sort of spontaneous natural life that is what enlightenment brings about. They're just so stuck in the hamster wheel of thinking that there's no space for them to consider what it would mean to be without it, what enlightenment would look like, or that it's even possible in the first place. So in that situation, that's kind of where, for me, the interest in psychedelics is, and not that psychedelics is going to be a permanent solution, although it does seem to have lingering positive effects for people, or even months afterwards. But really the value there is that you're going to be forced to see what this is all about. You're forced to see that this is possible. This is a real thing, that you can live without your mind. You can be completely free and spontaneous, and that is something that is greatly desirable once you've seen it. Once you know that this is not just a bunch of spiritual woo-woo, because people are kind of used to being, or expecting to be, duped almost by everything, and especially with the amount of bullshit that there is in the spirituality community. It sounds a little bit too good to be true. So, if you're someone that is completely riddled with doubt, or you just can't really believe that this is even possible at all, that's where I would recommend psychedelics. Psychedelics are sort of the big Zen stick. You're just being hit with it for a few hours, and there's not going to be any doubt after that. And so then you're familiar with the terrain. At least you haven't got it to a continuous state, but at least now you can't say that you don't know it's possible, because you've personally seen it yourself. Mushrooms are the ones that I've had experience with. I've heard equally positive things about LSD and DMT, but I have not tried those personally. And yeah, as I've mentioned, it seems like mushrooms, psilocybin at least, will be the one that probably gets to the marketplace first, as far as being a approved treatment for either depression or anxiety, or however they kind of market it. So that's one side of it. And on the other end, the question becomes, what is it going to take for, once you know that it's possible, or once you've got the trust in this process, as I've laid it out, and so many other people have laid it out. Once you've gotten to that point, what is it going to take for you to commit to this thing? Because it is a commitment. It's a brutal sort of life or death commitment. At a certain point, it becomes unavoidable. So how do you get to that point where it's just this is the awakening or enlightenment or whatever you want to call it becomes sort of crystallizes into something that just has to happen for you, and that's a bit trickier, and that's a bit more individual and depending on the person themselves, and that's a little bit more what I get into later on in the book itself as far as individual things that will stand in the way for you. So the thing, what you have to keep in mind is you can't force this. You got to be honest with yourself about what you want, what you really want, and because you kind of have to go through a certain amount of distractions and trying to find what you think is going to bring you happiness or satisfaction in all the wrong places first, for the most part, because that impulse is so overwhelmingly ingrained into our culture and the way that people live that it's just, you assume that you've got to chase after money or the perfect relationship or drugs or whatever the hell it is in your particular case that you think is going to get you to the promised land, whatever that thing out there is that you've been convinced, or whatever part of your unconscious thinks that is going to get you to some kind of lasting peace or happiness. And so if you're coming to meditation but really you're deep down really there's something else that you're looking for, then that's kind of a recipe for disaster. So you've got to be honest with yourself about this thing. There's no shame in admitting that you're just not ready for it, or you don't have the impulse for meditation or going after this thing, because that's going to be a huge waste of your time, speaking from personal experience. If you're trying to force it and there's something else really that you want to go after, just do that first, because you're going to save yourself a whole lot of time. If there's something you think you need to do first, go down that road, see where that takes you. Take the inevitable hurt and suffering that's going to come from that not delivering, and then once you come back to meditation, you can go after it earnestly and honestly, because you already know for yourself, I've tried that thing, I've gone after that distraction, I've gone down that road as far as it can go, and I know for a fact that's not going to work. To have someone tell you that in a book or wherever, some spiritual retreat or something, is that's good, but a lot of people aren't going to have the trust in that until they've experienced it themselves. Once you've experienced the pain and the certainty of knowing that those things out there are not going to give you the joy that you want, they're not going to give you the satisfaction that you really need. And once you've gone about in all those different directions, in the 1,000,001 distractions, then finally you can come to yourself and begin the process of meditation for real, because there's not going to be that lingering, unresolved unresolved yearning inside of you for something out there that you haven't yet experienced for yourself. See what else I got on this. Anything else I want to add on that subject? Yeah, I think that's about it. So yeah, I went over in a bit more detail in the book itself as far as what types of specific distractions there might be, relating to the chakras, or just basic stuff that might need to be resolved for you. That's all sort of in the mid to later sections of the book if you want some more information there. And as always, you're welcome to message me or respond to the video if you have something specific that you want to talk about. And in general, just leave some comments on the video if you have anything that you want me to address on here, because as I've said before, there's really not anything for me to say, and I can respond specifically to something that you may be having questions about, but for the most part I've covered it either through the book or through the videos or on the website itself. So yeah, it should do it.